Hi boys and girls, welcome to the Motivation Station. It's me, Ms. Trabal, with another math lesson for all of my second grade friends in St. Lucie County. So I hope you're ready for some more learning today. So last week when we met, we were talking about telling time to the hour and the half hour, and also we started learning about telling time to the nearest 5 minutes. We're going to continue that today. So our learning goal is to tell and write time to the nearest 5 minutes. We're going to continue all of that learning of telling time to the hour, to the half hour, and to the nearest 5 minutes. So we want to warm up our brains. And the way we do that is we're going to have a stop and think question. And I have my question here. And as you can see, it's got a lot of words in it. So normally when we have a problem that's wordy, a word problem, we try to visualize what is going on in the problem. So stop and think. Visualize what's happening as I read the problem. Ben set up a lemonade stand on Saturday morning. The time on his clock looked like this. So here's what our clock looked like. Can you say what time it is? So stop and think. We've got a digital clock here, and that's the one we see most often. And it's got some numbers. And if you're thinking that it is 8:25, you are correct. So he set up his lemonade stand at 8:25. Now, we said he set up the lemonade stand Saturday morning. Well, in time, there's 24 hours in a day. And in those 24 hours, there are two 12-hour cycles. We have an AM cycle and a PM cycle. The AM cycle normally starts at midnight, which is in the middle of the night. Most of the time we're all sleeping, and it goes from that time until the time we wake up and kind of start our morning until 11:59 a.m., which is around lunchtime. Those are your AM times. Now, your PM times are the afternoon. So that starts at 12 noon, which again is around lunchtime, and that goes until about 11:59 p.m., which is at close to that midnight range. So those are your PM. So you have AM, which is your morning, and PM, which is your afternoon and evening. So let's think. 8:25 Saturday morning. Would that be AM or PM? I hope you said AM, because if you did, that is correct. Now, let's think. Ben is going through his day. He's working on his lemonade stand. He's selling his lemonade to everybody, and he's working up an appetite. So, Ben's mom told him it was time for lunch. The clock in his house looked like this. And if we see the clock here, it's kind of like our friend that we were using, the Judy clock. It's also like this, or like my clock that I have to help me. So this is our analog clock. And if we want to know what time was it when Mom told him it was lunchtime, we would look at the hour hand and the minute hand on that clock to help us. So our hour hand is the shorter hand, if we remember, and it's here in between the 12 and the 1. It hasn't quite made it to the 1 yet. It's a little bit past the 12. So because it's halfway between these two, we're going to say that the hour is 12, and our minutes are down here, but we need to count to be able to tell what our minutes are. So if we start here at our 1, we're going to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So we are at 12:30. And if we also remember, this was a circle, so it was halfway around the circle, which is 30 minutes around our hour. So we are at 12:30. Now, we have to think about in that hour, how many minutes are there? How many minutes does it take to get all the way around this circle? Are you thinking we should count? I think so. If we count by 5s, we should be able to tell how many minutes will help us get around this whole circle. Let's use our clock here to help us. Okay, let's see. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So they are 60 minutes in an hour, or 60 minutes to make a full cycle around the clock. Now, let's practice a couple of times. We're given times in these problems on our digital clock, and we want to be able to write them on our analog clock. So I have my problem here, and my digital clock shows 2 o'clock, and I want to know what my analog, how the hands would look on my analog clock. So I know my hour hand is going to be on the 2. And my minute hand should be at the 12, which would make it 2 o'clock. Let me try another one. Here we have 7:30 on our digital clock, and I want to represent that on our analog clock. So the 7 is my hour, and 30 would be for my minutes, and I'm going to maybe remember that 30 is halfway around the circle, but if I do not recall that, I can always count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So my minutes would be here, which represents 7:30. Let's say we have 11 o'clock. So my hour hand is now at the 11, which is the shorter hand. Again, that represents our hour. And my minutes, 0 minutes on the hour, is at the 12. So now it's showing 11 o'clock. So these are on the hour and the half hour, but we did say our goal is also to learn how to tell time to the minute, nearest 5 minutes. So let's take a look at our little clock friend here. And I have my hour at the 1 and my minutes are at 2. Are you saying 1, 2? If you did, you're forgetting our rule of counting by 5s. Our hour is 1, which is correct, but we can't say 2 for our minutes. We have to count by 5s to figure out the minutes. So we would say 5, 10. So it is 1:10 on this clock. Let's say a few minutes pass. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass, 15 minutes passed. Now, we went 15 more minutes, and if you notice, my hour hand is moving, and it's moving a little bit after the 1, but it's still in the 1 o'clock time frame because it has not reached the 2 yet. And my minute hand is now on the 5. So we said that here we were at 1:10. So I'm gonna keep going from there, 1:15, 1:20, 1:25. So the time here is 1:25. Let's see if Mr. Ball can give you another one to practice. Maybe we'll do a few cycles around the clock. Let's take a look here. So now our hour hand, even though it looks on the like it's on the 5, it's actually a little bit before the 5. It hasn't fully reached 5 yet. And my minutes are here on this 9. So let me start back over here and count. Or do we already have a starting point? We know that 6, we know that the 6 is 30. So maybe we could start from 30 and count by 5s from there. 35, 40, 45. And because we did not quite reach the 5, we are at 4:45. How many minutes till we get to 5 o'clock? Well, I know that if I keep moving, I would eventually reach the 12, and now my hour hand would be on the 5. So that would be 5 o'clock. But let's go back just so we can figure out how much time would that take. Let's count. 5, 10, 15. So that would take 15 more minutes to get to 5 o'clock. So we could have said 15 minutes till. That would be another way to represent that time. Or a quarter till. A quarter to 5, 15 minutes to 5, or 4:45. Those are the 3 ways we could say that time. So as you're practicing your time, remember, constantly look at that hour hand and that minute hand, because those tell us what time it is. Also, practice writing your time on a digital clock, because that will also help you practice. Do you have a schedule yet? Well, my daughter Malia has a schedule. She knows that she has to wake up at a certain time in the morning, and then she eats breakfast at another time. And she starts her work at another time, and she eats lunch. And those times, she likes to stick with them. So do you have a schedule? If you don't, I suggest trying to come up with a little bit of a schedule. Maybe you can work with mom, dad, or grandma, anybody who's there to help you. Work on a schedule and write it down. Wake up time, 8 o'clock in the morning. What does that look like on a clock? Breakfast time, 9:15. How could I write that? If I wanted to know that, could I look on a clock and tell me? Would that be AM or PM? Finished with school at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What does that look like? Work on those times. Write your schedule, write it down, share it with family, practice your times. I hope this helped you. I will see you again soon. Bye, guys.